Take a look at the minutes, please, and if there's a motion to approve, we'll entertain that.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are adopted. Ms. Standridge, item number 1, General Fund 22, Budget Revision number 10.
Good afternoon, council. This is one budget revision for the general fund. However, it encompasses 3 specific items within that. Whoa, Mr. Crow, you just
I
about
just
fell
fell
over.
over. That was
I'm sorry, I saw that.
That would have been a great
My heart
camera
jumped for
move.
you.
I did. I just fell over.
We'd have that
But
on
no, I just
camera.
leaned back. The chair almost fell over. Sorry. That would have been kind of funny, Carly.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'll be standing in the. Sorry.
Just turn my giggle box over.
Sorry.
Okay.
You probably needed that.
Okay, so first item within this budget revision is, TPD came to us, with a request that they had some ARP funding for purchasing a specific piece of equipment. ARP funding, because it is federally, backed, has specific regulations on it that can be somewhat, time inducing and a little bit, I guess, it creates a little bit more of a barrier to getting the equipment acquired than some just general fund availability would. They reached the point of kind of no return with one of their vendors on this piece of equipment, and so we are requesting that they use some funding that they continuously build up from court systems called the Diversion Training Tech line item. We have analyze that entire line item. They do have availability for this piece of equipment to kind of fit into that. So we are requesting that we use diversion training tech dollars to acquire this piece of equipment instead of using ARP. We will defund them out of ARP in sequence. That's item number 1. I just want to make sure there's no questions on that one.
I have a general question. When we defund an ARP purchase, what happens to those funds?
They just go back into the general
ARP
availability
pot?
for ARP usage.
And
yes.
there's no shelf date on those?
No, sir. There's
I
no
mean,
spending.
imminently?
There is, but it's like 3 years into the
Okay.
future.
All right, thank you.
The second item on this, sorry, any other questions on that one? Second item on the list is we were approached by the Benjamin Barnes YMCA that one of their large HVAC units has completely conked out. We got some quotes from various vendors in town for repair, but then also replacement. The idea of repair is just that it's beyond repair at this point. So the replacement of the equipment is the amount that you see here, $33,347. That we are requesting just come out of contingency because at this date, with this emergency, there's really just no other source of funding for it.
That's a big bill, but I'm glad to know that we're gonna get that done, because I was called Saturday while I was at a picnic, and I didn't know anything about it, but I'm glad to see that.
You know, if I,
Yeah.
and I want to give, because I know we took some heat at the time and recently.
Yeah.
But when the city assumed the debt for the YMCA, both in downtown and Benjamin Barnes, what really started that conversation was they needed at the time, Benjamin Barnes, somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 worth of repairs at their facility, and had a difficult time even fundraising that amount. And that started a conversation, which then Jeff Knox came on board, and ultimately the city was able to help the YMCA. And because of that agreement, they need a repair for $33,000.
This would be a replacement, right?
Yeah.
And we're able to meet that request, and I give Kevin and his team move quickly on that
Yeah.
to address it. And there won't have to be fundraising, there won't have to be children waiting very long. That's one of the advantages and good things of this partnership, and I'm glad we're able to do that.
I would like to.
Because when we repurpose the building, it'll already have a new unit.
One of the items that we will be looking at in the upcoming budget hearing process will be, we normally have a general fund facility renewal fund that we kind of do some set-asides for, because that's kind of been depleted over the last few months and this was not able to come out of it. We will look at that. We will look at the new facilities that we have coming online and that funding to see if there needs to be any extra movements here and there. So in the future, hopefully this kind of thing will come out of facility renewal and not have to be emergency out of contingency.
That's good.
It's a good deal.
Okay, the third item, on this revision is, we'll set the scenario. Within the general fund budget, within Human Resources Department, there are line items to hire temporary, labor, depending on certain scenarios that might come about. One of those is the need for surge labor, such as an ESD when we have fall leaf season. We just need a little bit extra help seasonally to be able to, accomplish services. There's also the point in time when we have vacancies that we just are not able to fill, but we still need somebody working in those positions. We will hire temporary labor for those as well. This year, with a lot of the vacancies within IPS, we have kind of exhausted that temporary wages budget line item within HR. So we have done some salary saving analysis on some of the divisions within IPS department, namely ESD and right-of-way landscaping. And so we are requesting to move some of the salary savings from those departments into the temporary wages section in HR to be able to fill that gap.
Okay.
Questions? No.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the revision is approved. Item number 2, bond discussion. Chairperson me and Lee Garrison. Mr. Garrison, how are you? We're getting close to the line of departure here. You want to update us on anything new that we have not already heard related to the issuance of, I assume this is specific to the 2022 A and B issues, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think everything is looking really good relative to the ratings. The market has taken a real hit Friday, yesterday, and today. Probably lost 35 to 45 basis points in 3 days. That is due to the Fed possibly hiking rates 75 basis points versus the 50 that they've telegraphed. And so that 75 is pretty much built in as of the market close today. The most recent run that I did yesterday did not build in the 6 to 10 basis point increases in the Treasury market that happened today. We'll get MMD probably about right now that'll build that in. But as of yesterday, which built in Friday and Monday, we're right at 60,000 per million, and which is right on budget. You know, nobody has a crystal ball, or probably wouldn't all be here right now to know what the Fed's going to do tomorrow afternoon. But if they do 50, there might be a snapback. If they do 75, we feel like that's baked in as of the end of the market today. And then, you know, next week, if y'all agree, we're planning to sell it on Thursday. Our professional opinion is that we go to market. The Fed is expected to increase rates again in July by anywhere from 50 to 100 basis points based on who you talk to. Rates are going up. That's the bottom line. And, you know, we might get a snapback like we did the last time they raised rates, but with these inflation reports that are coming out, I wouldn't bet against it. Hindsight's 20/20 when you do one of these deals. When you decide to pull the trigger, do it. Don't look back.
So we're looking to go to market next Thursday, which is what date?
23rd.
23rd.
Right, as of yesterday, MMD was 4.34% all in, which is still very good rate.
And what is that MMD benchmark? Is that one particular maturity, or is that an amalgamation of or average of maturities?
Well, MMD was up 25 to 30 basis points on the front end to the long end. Matter of fact, the 10-year inverted against the 30-year Treasury today.
The 10-year inverted against
10-year rates are higher than 30-year rates right now. As of
right, which is typically the strongest evidence one has of an economic slowdown, right?
recession. It's been an indicator. It's pretty consistent. But to answer your question, when we issue bonds,
All I'm trying to understand is what is the gold standard we use
MMD,
for our, and that is,
it's municipal
is it
market
on-
index.
I-
Municipal.
it's not just one maturity, It's a
It's an index.
composite of maturities.
Correct.
Okay.
20, yeah.
And what is it today?
I don't have the
Or
exact MMD right
what-
now.
what number have we been dealing with
What do you mean by
on the
that?
MMD?
Well, I
Didn't you
mean, we
just say
spread off
4.4?
of MMD, but I mean, the rate is 4.34% all
4.30.
in. That's a blend of all 30 maturities based on the structure we have as of yesterday. So we have some serial bonds, which are basically one-year bonds that our investors will buy from us that will sell to y'all. And then we have some term bonds, which are, anywhere, usually 5 years. But, the structure changes really every day based on what the market's wanting. There'll be some premium bonds, a lot of premium bonds in here. I would expect most of the coupons to be 5%. And y'all are getting, anywhere from, based on this structure, you're issuing anywhere from a yield of 1.86% on the maturity in 23, all the way up to 4.12% on the term warrant in 52. So obviously, we're gonna have some premium bonds because, the investors will get paid a 5% coupon, and they're gonna have to pay a premium to get that high of an interest rate because prevailing rates are not that high. But that's common right now.
Lee, that 4.34%, the 3/4 basis point hike is baked into that, you think?
As of yesterday.
As of, yeah, but if the hike's not more than that, we should stay somewhere in that range.
We'll see. Today
Should.
it went up 6 to 10, and that didn't count that.
So really going to the market ASAP, gonna lock us in at a good rate, cause if, say something blows up in July, then we could look at something.
Y'all could be above 5% before
Yeah,
you
so
know it.
it's a no-brainer.
Now, again, I tend to agree based on talking with Ashton Stuckey in our office, who actually does the sales for when we do a deal. So Thursday morning, what will happen, we'll wake up, come into the office, starting about 8 o'clock. I'll talk to the mayor the day before, and he'll spread the news to y'all. Here's where we think we're gonna be. So we'll know pricing ideas the day before. And then we'll know how many people have subscribed to the 2032 bond, the 33 bond, the 34. You hope you're oversubscribed, because then we can move the rate a little bit, right? Because we got more demand. And so we try to find the right rate for y'all, but also that we can sell. So we're kind of in the middle. And so we'll come out with price ideas on Wednesday, and we'll talk to the mayor and say, Mayor, here's kind of where we are. I'll break it down to 60,000 per million, and not get too in the weeds, but here's where we are. Do y'all want to go? And he'll say yes or no, and then we'll wake up Thursday morning, go in there, execute the orders, probably be done by lunchtime, and then I'll email him a piece of paper to sign that basically he says I agree to this, and then y'all will eventually pass a warrant ordinance. A couple of weeks later. If it passes unanimously, it takes one night. If there's a dissenting vote, it'll carry over to the next meeting, and we'll have to just close later. Usually after y'all pass the final pricing, of which you'll sign the day of, 2 weeks later you have the meeting. If it passes unanimously, you usually close a week to 10 days later, and your money's wired. So if everything goes well, y'all should have your money mid to late July.
So with that thought also, just as a quick aside, we have not gotten any more information from ADEM on the SRF amounts. And so that's about $15.5 million of the total projects for water and sewer that we just don't know about timing wise when we would have that cash flow in. So we could still work that 15.5 into the main bond, or we could still go the ADEM SRF route, the 1.99 versus the 4.34, but knowing the timing on being able to have funding available for the projects with the 4.34 might be a little bit more attractive at this juncture. Just as a thought to throw that out.
When will we have to decide that, Carly?
I mean, really, by the end of this week is going to be the final, be able to put it into the bond, if we're going into the market next week.
And I believe Mr.
I mean, I don't mean to overstep at all, but just based on trying to get this done, if y'all say go to the market, I'm immediately gonna leave this meeting and I'm gonna email Fitch and Moody's. They are teed up to have a committee meeting for public rating on Thursday, so that they can flip it to me Friday morning, which I'll send to y'all to make sure that y'all read the rating, make sure there's no words misspelled or any factual inaccuracies. We have 2 hours to usually do that, so that's Friday morning. So after lunch, I get all the comments back from staff and y'all. If we don't get any, okay, publish it. Then they publish it on the wire on Friday afternoon. All right, Juneteenth is on Monday, that's a holiday. So I'm trying to speed this up so that we can sell it on Thursday, because we need the public ratings on Friday so we can post the POS on Friday afternoon to investors to start reviewing if they want to buy it. Does that make sense? So really, to be honest, y'all need to make a decision on SRF today. Because the POS has got to be in really good shape this afternoon. And I've already actually sent what Barry sent yesterday, which has the new lowered amount of like 37 or so on B. I mean, I hate to say that, Carly, I just
No,
feel
I
like.
think that, yeah, so I think that what Mr. Garrison is saying is that instead of maybe then this week, maybe it's just today.
Yeah, like that.
Sorry.
The reason that the SRF, since our last meeting, it's come to our attention that a municipality was recently, who has used SRF, as not most, but a lot of municipalities that use SRF have been impacted by, and I'll get Lee to talk on this, by an acceleration which is included in the SRF, the way that the loan is structured. And they've looked, the rating agencies have looked down on this. This may be the first time, I think, or that this has
It was
happened.
S&P, right?
Correct.
And so we just want you to be aware that if we go the SRF route, it could come with, penalties in the future. And, do we just want to go with the traditional bond and have the flexibility and the ability to move forward and not to have to worry about that in the future? We don't have a lot, I don't have a lot more to tell you but that. But you need to know, and it needs to be disclosed to you, and I can't tell you whether that'll ever be applied to us.
Ms. Sanders, how is it currently set to be executed?
It's currently set to be executed 15.5 million with SRF through ADEM, and then 37.5 under 2022 B in
Okay,
the bond market.
so 1.99 on the 15.5, 434 on the
37
37.
million. Mhm.
I did not expect to have to make a separate $15 million decision today. If we have to, we have to. But I personally, I would see our bond attorney's role in that decision as critical. That's, as I understand the situation, Barry is the one who is dealing with the other municipalities that could potentially be impacted by this, and is the one who is best able to handicap the probability of either it being backed off, which is what he's lobbying for, repealed, whatever the right word is, or what the possibility of it is eventually reaching us.
Right.
And Barry sent us an email earlier this morning, basically saying that that ADEM will not waive it based on his request alone, that we need to now, as the issuer, step in, and request the waiving of that clause for any future. They won't waive it in any prior ones.
And-
I would ask them to.
Well, yeah, we'll certainly make the request, and this is something, it's new, but Barry has been dealing with it, and lawyers from Balch Bingham have been dealing with it, and so far haven't been particularly successful in getting ADEM to change their mind. So we'll certainly ask for it. I guess we'll potentially be in a situation if we go the SRF route and we ask them to waive it and they say no.
If they say no, then maybe then maybe we'll need to do, just want to do something else.
In that particular issuance, the city of Prattville, wasn't that who it was?
Yes.
All right, how much money were we talking about? Like, how much?
We don't know. You want me to give you the practical reality of this?
Yeah, I guess the point of my question was gonna be, how much money caused this, and it's $15 million. That doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. I mean, it is, but I'm just saying, in this offering, is $15 million gonna cause some big upheaval about this? I don't know, Lee. I mean, y'all have to advise us.
I'll give you what we've been through at our firm and after talking with Barry. So S&P started drilling down on any issuer that had loans that had acceleration clauses in them about 6 to 12 months ago. I dealt with one where it was an AM fund loan, Mayor, and they basically told me that if we didn't refinance that to a traditional warrant, which is what y'all mainly have, which are not accelerable. So you say you default. We're talking about default. And I argued with them back and forth. Are you talking about X city just going out of business? We're talking, doomsday scenarios, right? Well, yeah, but we have to look at it that way. I said, so what you're saying is any issuer that has an accelerable loan, you're going to look at that and say they need to have the equal amount or close to that amount of cash and reserves in case they default so that they could pay the acceleration. And they said, well, yeah, basically. And I said, do you know that every SRF loan in the state of Alabama has that same thing? Well, we don't, but if they do, we're gonna look at it the same. Well, boom, it's happening. And so what happened is S&P knocked that city by one notch. Okay, right now Moody's and Fitch have not really hunkered down on this particular acceleration clause issue. But they're all different, and you never know when one of them's gonna pick up the other one's habits. Good point, Cassius. And so this is an analysis of 1.99% money. You've got some SRF loans on the books that are very good rates as well. If S&P's analysis comes back in a week or two, and they're gonna drill in on this, I can guarantee it. We're gonna see what they do. Right now, it's not really affecting you unless Moody's and Fitch surprise us on Friday. Does that make sense? So it's not really affecting you now, but with S&P it is. And so what you don't want is you don't want a scenario where all three, especially the two that you're using now, say they're gonna ding you for it, and then cause your rating to drop and your interest rate to go up on all of your other debt. And then that's a whole nother calculation to see, okay, our other debt's gonna go down a notch. Is that 8 to 10 basis points? All right, does that offset the 1.99? I mean, that's how you need to look at it.
All right, thank you. I did not come in prepared to or expecting to make a fresh redecision on $15 million. Matthew or Norman, if y'all want to, you're welcome to introduce a reconsideration of how we've already got it set, but I'm not on board for that.
Lee, if you were us,
Which
are
just
you allowed, what would you, I'm sorry, Mr. Garrison, we got two Lees. Is it, considering that we're not going to S&P for a rating this time?
I think right now, as Carly and I conversed earlier today, 1.99% is hard to turn down.
Yeah.
And if you go forward with the lower amount right now that we've got it sent out, you'll have 35 or whatever $1 million to do projects. And if she can't get this negotiated and y'all as a group say, we're not gonna do business with y'all unless you change this and request that you change it on our prior ones, because if you got it on one loan, that's all they care about. And whatever that amount is, they're gonna ding you for. I would go forward as you are now. You'll have some cash, and then if for some reason y'all make a policy change and say we don't want to go forward with the 15 because they won't work with us, then you can add that money back into the fall issuance or cash flow with what you've already got with the 35, do a reimbursement resolution for the next bond issue and get the money then.
That's what I'd say just leave it alone the way we've got it.
Just keep moving.
Yeah, that's what I would do, but we've already approved that.
Yeah.
You can't walk away
I
from
have
the
no
199
interest in
money.
changing what we-
Considering that we felt like you need to be advised of it. So, we'll move forward as is.
Okay.
I think it's great to have that discussion,
Yeah.
because I mean, lay it all on the table.
I think, and again, this is something that, and this is 2 or 3 years down the road, but once we resolve the RSA, Police Fire Pension Fund, 4 to 5 years from now, hopefully when that box is checked, and that will, that should make S&P very pleased, because at the time, that's been their only concern with the city. You don't want to get there, and then all of a sudden they move the goalpost to, well, now it's SRF. And now all of a sudden you're battling this new issue.
But to me, Walt, it seems like everything, the rules that have always been are changing now.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, and I think that's the one good thing about the rating trip and then coming back. We had to deal with a lot of different things, which I think has been a good process for new council and old council and staff and you to look at all these different options. I think it's been a good thing.
I suspect they're gonna get tighter, don't
Yeah.
you?
Just to add one thing
Yeah,
that might
sure.
give y'all a
It's
little
only
bit
getting
of
worse.
comfort. I have had a lot of conversations with Barry on this. He works for Mayor Cooper. Bradley, is the attorneys for SRF. And, we work with a lot of them as well, but they represent SRF. I can tell you that Barry's firm opinion, I don't think he'd mind me sharing this, is that he doesn't believe that the acceleration clause is enforceable under Alabama law anyway. So,
Is this a state by state decision? Because those monies really originate at the EPA level and then flow down to the state.
that's a very question, but he does think the acceleration clause is not enforceable, so why should you put it in the documents and so? There you go.
Hey,
We'll
is
keep
there-
the committee apprised as we go down the road with ADEM, just to let you, just keep you guys updated on that.
Any other business for the finance committee?
Y'all want me to move forward?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Mr. Lanier does, but
Oh.
unfortunately, he's not on the finance committee.
sort of, kind of, I'm like an honorary member, you know?
When he deigns to join us,
Yeah.
I think, what's the total amount?
That's funny.
Well, actually, we need to be talking to him, not you on that. What's the total amount, Mr. Garrison? 90?
It was $40,500,000 for A and $37,650,000 for B of the project funds.
I think you already,
Yeah,
you already have the authorization. We've done some pretty in-depth review of what we think the impact to our credit standing would be. I don't know of anybody who's objecting on this committee to moving forward with what we've approved.
We'll move forward and everything will be circulated to the council as well.
Kind of like the wedding, if so, pipe up or forever hold, or at least hold your feelings till the next bond issue. Any other business for the finance committee
yeah,
or Mr. Lanier?
yeah. I'm fine. I'm cool with that.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Hey, if they do, we could just take it back to the council.
All in favor say aye.